Good morning, a very good morning to all of you. We've been dealing with Sontag's against interpretation. So we firstly got introduced with her position, then her intellectual development, some background understanding of against interpretation and other essays, the collection of essays by Sontag. Then we went on talking about section one, in which he talks about the Greek theory of mimesis and its emphasis on the theory of imitation and emphasis on the content with reference to that. And then we went on talking about second section of this particular uh, essay, in which she talks about the advocacy for art's sake. So she thinks that there is an overemphasis on the idea of content, and that is somewhat harmful to the study of any work of art. So she is against talking against interpretation. In section three, she talks about the nature of interpretation. So how interpretation comes up with the meaning of the text. It presupposes rather. Okay. So sometimes the text becomes unacceptable because of such interpretations. So she looks at interpretation as a radical strategy. Okay, we saw that as well in the initial lecture. Further, she refers to interpretation with in modern times. She talks about this interpretation in modern times with reference to Karl Marx and Freud's hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the study of interpretations, or it is related to interpretation itself, we can say. So, see, through these arguments, he's trying to put forth the idea that too much emphasis on content is rather misleading. Okay. In section 4 as well, she continues with the idea of interpretation as the revenge of the intellect upon art and upon the world. So she looks at interpretation as the revenge, and she thinks that interpretation degrades the text, it impoverishes or it depletes the world. And in section 5, she talks about interpretation as Philistinism. We dealt with that as well. So, modern critics, interpretation amounts to the Philistine refusal to leave the work of art alone. Means they criticize work of art in their own way and they don't understand its value. That's what she thinks. So, now we shall go ahead with section 6 of this particular essay. In section 6, Sontag talks about cinema, interpretation of cinema. Yes, cinema as an art. Now, she states that what the artist intends or what artists intend doesn't matter. Even what artists don't intend, that too doesn't matter. If someone wants to interpret the work, yes, she makes a statement. She thinks that if you want to interpret what the artist or what artists intend or don't intend does not matter, does not have any relevance. Then she thinks that the merit of the works, now she refers to a cinema, actually a movie by Tennessee Williams, Streetcar, and even she refers to another movie by Cocteau, The Blood of a Poet. So she thinks that the merit of these works does not lie in meaning. Do not lie. Actually, the merit of these works lie somewhere else. lies somewhere else, not in the meaning certainly. So she refers to these two actually movies: Streetcar named Desire of 1951, and another movie is what I said, The Blood of a Poet. Okay, so these are two Hollywood movies, and she thinks that their their meaning, or their merit is not in their meanings. Further, she refers to another work by Renais and Robbie Grillet with reference to their work last year at Marine Bath. So they designed this particular cinema or movie to accommodate a multiplicity of equally plausible interpretations. So they have that deliberate interpretations. They have designed the movie in that direction, in that way. If you remember certain movies, they have very surprising end, shocking ends. So if you, I think, remember that movie of with Marathi director Nagaraj Manjuri, am I right? Sairat and other movies, Pandri. So the way it ends, that boy Jabber throws a stone. So this is, subject to interpretation. Further, the way Sairat ends, again, that is subject to interpretations. If you have seen those movies, you will remember what I am trying to explain here. So there are plausible interpretations. So in Sontag's view, the temptation to interpret Marienbad should be registered. When she talks about this movie, she says what matters in Marienbad is the pure, untranslatable, sensuous immediacy of some of the images used in this particular cinema, and its rigorous, if narrow, solution to certain problems of cinetic form. Okay, so what is important here? The form is important, the cinematic form, not the content, not the meaning. The pure, untranslatable, she says. Sensuous images. Images are very important. You have to understand those images. And you cannot come up with the narrow, interpretation, solutions of this cinematic form. Therefore, Sontag thinks that interpretations on this type indicates a dissatisfaction, whether they are conscious or unconscious, with the work. Actually, interpretation is a kind of wish to replace it by something else. It may take away the readers or the viewers from the original intention. So, interpretation based on the highly dubious theory. What is the theory? Dubious means something which is not acceptable, something which is of no high quality, she says, something which is of low quality. That a work of art is composed of items of content violates art. Means this theory itself, it discards. Means the assumption, the theory that a work of art is composed of items of content, this very thinking violates art, breaks the rule of art. It makes art into an article for use. Just it becomes an article, just like the articles that we use, pen, etc. So for arrangement into mental scheme of categories, it makes art into an article. Just it is arranged in a way, in different scheme. mental scheme of categories. Classification is made, and accordingly they are arranged. So that is what happens. It becomes an object. It loses its significance. Therefore, she resists this nature of interpretation. She does not, approve of this particular tendency. Now we shall go ahead with the next section.